Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards' weakness is technicals. His trend of picking up technical fouls started slow, but snowballed fast. Back in 2021, he only had 2. By 2025, that number jumped to 17, leading the entire league. And this wasn't just a fluke. Every year, it kept climbing. He even became the first player since DeMarcus Cousins to hit 16 techs before March, which triggered a 1-game suspension. His second tech in a game leads to an ejection, and that's exactly what happened against the Lakers, where he got tossed for profanity, then tossed the ball into the crowd. That was his 16th, and it cost him a key game against Utah with playoff implications. He's been fined over $300,000 for these outbursts, with 6 separate league fines just in 2025. One fine alone was $50,000 for a gesture at Lakers fans. The most baffling moment came in the Western Conference Finals when he got a technical foul less than 5 minutes in for tossing the ball at Shea's knee. Even when his 18th tech was rescinded later that season, it only highlighted how close he constantly is to more suspension. Coaches and teammates have called it out. It's not a shooting flaw or defense issue. It's emotional discipline, plain and simple. Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's weakness is Denver. Since 2019, he hasn't played a single road game there. That's 8 straight absences, and everyone ties back to something physical. It started with back issues, then knee swelling, tendinitis, and post-surgery management. In 2024, right before the game in Denver, reports said he had swelling and couldn't jump during shoot-around. That came after playing 2 full games on the road just days before. The pattern keeps repeating. Whenever Denver's on the schedule, something's going on. Bone bruises, calf strains, or team decisions to sit him for load management. The medical staff has said his left knee can flare up suddenly, especially in certain conditions. The teams also pulled him from trips that included Denver, even when he seemed fine right before. But every time he skips that game, people pile on. They say he's dodging the matchup with Nikola Jokic. The narrative always goes there. Never mind the official reports or the fact that these same issues have kept him out of other cities too. The timing just makes it easy to spin. Even when he was dominating at home, the fact he kept missing Denver gave fuel to that idea. Chris Paul. Chris Paul's weakness is Scott Foster. Out of over 1,200 NBA games, he's only been ejected 7 times, and Foster has been behind several of them. The friction started way back in 2008 during a playoff exit where Foster was crew chief, and things only escalated. In 2023, Foster ejected Paul after giving him 2 techs in under 30 seconds. That game turned into a mess, and Paul didn't hold back after. He said it's personal and that the league knows it. Foster's name keeps popping up whenever Paul's on the wrong side of a technical foul. Their dynamic is so tense that in the 2020 bubble, Foster walked up and reminded Paul of that first Game 7 loss, right before another Game 7. The playoff record's brutal too. Paul's teams dropped 13 straight playoff games with Foster officiating. That streak stretched across 4 different teams and totaled 17 losses with Foster in the mix before finally snapping in. 2023. On average, those games weren't even close, with Paul's teams losing by over 11 points. He's known for being composed and controlling pace, but when Foster's reffing, that balance breaks. The tension affects his play. Rotations shift when ejections happen, and it's one of the only things that's consistently rattled him through multiple franchises. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns' weakness is foul trouble. He finished the 2025 regular season with 249 fouls, averaging 3.5 per game. That trend isn't new. He's logged at least 3 fouls per game in 9 of his 10 seasons. In the playoffs, it only gets worse. He averaged 4.5 fouls per game in 11 contests, hitting 4 fouls or more in 10 of them. Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals showed exactly how costly that can be. He picked up his 4th foul in the 3rd quarter, sat down, and by the time he returned, the lead was gone. The Knicks couldn't recover. Across that series, he never had fewer than 3 fouls in a game. Coaches and broadcasters keep calling it out. Charles Barkley said it directly. Stop with the dumb fouls. A lot of it comes from overreaching, slow rotations, and failed post defense. Opponents know it too. They bait him with drives, hunt his arms, and force contact. The worst part, it pulls him off the floor when his offense is most needed. Towns shoots over 42% from 3 and rebounds like a machine. But that only matters if he's actually in the game. His foul issues have been consistent for a decade, and teams are still using it against him. Lauri's weakness is passing. Despite being 7 feet tall and playing the three a lot, his assist numbers are shockingly low. In the 2025 season, he averaged just 1.5 assists per game. That's about half the league median for front court players. His assist percentage was 7.6%, way below the usual 12 to 15% to range for bigs who move the ball. His assist to turnover ratio was barely over 1, meaning he gives it away almost as often as he helps someone score. That's not just inefficient, it's risky. Most of his baskets are created by others, with 84% of his makes being assisted. He's not generating looks for himself or others. His passes are often predictable, like hot passes or soft resets. When he tries to drive and kick, the timing is off. He misses cutters, overthrows lobs, and his bounce passes on fast breaks get picked off. Even early scouting reports pointed this out. They called out poor vision and accuracy, and it hasn't really improved. When Utah's offense stalls, defenses know they can pressure him without worrying about a counter pass. It slows the flow and makes it easier to defend. Compared to elite passing bigs like Nikola Jokic or Sabonis, Lauri's numbers don't even come close. Zack Lavine. Zack Lavine's weakness is making the playoff. In 9 full NBA seasons, he's only made the postseason once. That was in 2022, and it lasted exactly 4 games. He averaged 19 points and shot 42%, but the Bulls lost the series 4-1. Since then, it's been the same story. Great scoring numbers, little team success. Injuries have been a big part of that. He tore his ACL in 2017, missed 15 games in his one playoff season, and had season-ending foot surgery in 2024 while Chicago was still in the playoff race. That year, he played just 42 games, his lowest since the injury. Even when healthy, his impact is questionable. In multiple seasons, the Bulls' offense rated just as well, or even better, when he was off the court. That includes 2025, where the team had a higher offensive rating without him. On defense, it's rough. His career defensive rating sits around 114, which ranks among the bottom for starters. Metrics show he's a negative on that end, and when teams build around him, the win totals rarely go up. Even with elite shooting splits, he hasn't been able to lift a team to consistent playoff success. He scores, but the rest never follows. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's weakness is the regular season. Across the last 4 years, he's averaged just over 20 points a game during the regular season. But once the playoffs start, everything changes. His scoring jumps to over 25 per game. His minutes climb from 33 to 38, and his shot volume and free throw attempts go up fast. In 2023, he scored nearly 32 points per game in the playoffs, including a 56 explosion against Milwaukee. That same season, his regular season average was 22.9. The shift isn't subtle, it's massive. He's had 8 40-point playoff games with Miami, but not a single one in the regular season. In 2022, he led the Heat to the conference finals, with the highest win shares on the roster. In the bubble finals back in 2020, he averaged 27 points, nearly 7 boards, and over 2 steals. That's a stat line leap few players match. The reason? He plays more, he's more aggressive, and his usage spikes. His free throw attempts shoot up, he forces more steals, and he takes over late game situations. Coaches like Steve Kerr and Tom Thibs have praised his playoff poise. The data backs it up. More minutes, more touches, more impact. When it's playoff time, Butler consistently transforms into a different tier of player. Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama's weakness is turnovers. In his first 2 seasons, he averaged 3.5 giveaways per game. Way up there for a big man, his rookie year turnover rate was 17.4%. That means almost 1 in every 6 offensive plays ended with the ball going the other way. Even in year 2, that number only dropped to 14%, still higher than the league average of about 13.6. In games where he took on a bigger role, the problem grew. Against Sacramento in December, he had 5 of San Antonio's 16 turnovers in a triple-double performance. Spurs coaches pointed to poor fundamentals early in that game. In other matchups, he racked up 4 turnovers by halftime. The issue wasn't a mystery. Coaches and scouts kept circling the same problem: ball control, hand strength, and timing. Coach Pop even said cutting down turnovers was the next evolution in Wemby's game. With a usage rate over 30%, he touched the ball a lot. That gave him more chances to create, but also more chances to cough it up. Turnovers led to easy buckets for opponents, slowed the Spurs' half-court rhythm, and sometimes stacked with fouls to cut his late-game minutes. The raw numbers and coach quotes all say the same thing. Wemby's got vision, but until the turnovers come down, it's costing him. Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson's weakness is conditioning. Since entering the NBA, At 284 pounds, his body has been under constant scrutiny, partly because his game depends so much on raw power and short bursts of explosion. But that frame also adds stress. Even in 2024, after reportedly losing 20 pounds and trimming down to 264, the durability questions didn't go away. He started the season strong, playing all 30 of the Pelicans' first games and averaging 24.6 points in under 29 minutes. His per 36 numbers were elite, over 30 points, 9 rebounds, and nearly 8 assists. But by March, he was shut down with a back contusion again. Despite a revamped training plan with elite chefs, trainers, and metabolic regimens, he still didn't finish the season. That's been the pattern. Every time Zion looks ready to break out, his body says otherwise. The team even added a weight and body fat clause in his contract, requiring him to stay under 295 pounds and 11% fat to earn his full salary. And still, his minutes are capped under 30 per game to reduce wear. The performance is there, but the conditioning, it keeps getting tested. Every year starts with promise, and every year ends with another stoppage. Draymond Green. Draymond Green's weakness is discipline. It's not even close. Since the 2019 season, he's put up double-digit technicals every year. 14, 14 again, 14 once more, then 17, then 10, and now 13 this year. He's also been ejected multiple times each season with a total of 23 career ejections, which is the second most in league history. Not something to frame on the wall. The Gobert chokehold earned him 5 games off. Then 2 days later, he earned another suspension after smacking Russell Westbrook with the ball for his 16th technical. That triggered an automatic suspension, because yes, there's a rule for that, and he broke it on schedule. Then came the stomp on Sabonis, which cost him 1 more game. Then he punched Jusuf Nurkic and got benched for 12. Not 1, not 2, 12. Even off the court, he's catching fines. $50,000 just for referencing betting odds during a playoff game. That pushed his total fines and suspension losses to nearly $1 million. That includes $185,000 tied to referee-related issues alone. The Warriors have admitted it's worn on them. Steve Kerr, teammates, even the league office, it's all on record. He was warned this year for being too aggressive. The warning didn't exactly change things. When your defense is on the bench because of a temper, the whole plan collapses. Giannis. His weakness is his jump shot. For all his dominance at the rim, defenders still dare him to shoot, and they're not exactly sweating it. This season, he's hitting just 22% from 3 on less than 1 attempt per game. That's the lowest mark among players logging over 2,000 minutes. If defenses sag off and you still miss, the math wins. His free throws are even worse, 61.7%, a career low. That's not just bad luck. It mirrors mechanical issues that show up in his jumper too. His mid-range game is finally improving, up to nearly 48% from 10 to 15 feet, which is his best ever, but he's only taking about 4 of those a game. That's a small slice, and it's still not close to the best in the league. The release on his jumper varies when he's tired. His elbow flares, his shoulders rotate late, and his form breaks down. A lot of his mid-range shots come off one move, the cross-court dribble, then fade. Defenders know it, and they recover in time. And despite seeing teams wall him off since 2019, he still settles for those contested shots. It's gradual growth, sure, but when 47% from mid-range is your highlight and everything else stays low, it's clear his jumper still lags way behind his other tools. Luka's weakness is complaining. Since the 2020 season, he's stacked up nearly 93 technical fouls and 5 ejections. That's not a stat line most players would celebrate. In 4 straight seasons, he finished with 15 or more techs, including a league-high 15 in 2024. That's not just emotional outbursts, it's automatic suspensions. He's been vocal during press conferences, like after fouling out in the finals, where he questioned calls instead of owning defensive lapses. Coaches like Jason Kidd called him out for it, pointing to poor focus. Against Oklahoma City, he got tossed after 2 techs in under 3 minutes, one of which the league later reviewed and confirmed was for profanity and eye contact with a referee. The Lakers were ahead, then lost by 17. That's the kind of momentum shift that costs games. Even LeBron said the call felt personal, while analysts blamed Luka's inability to move on from refs. He admitted back in 2021 that he complained too much, but his numbers since then don't show growth. He's still arguing with officials more than adjusting his game. The NBA's respect for the game rules don't tolerate repeat offenders, and Luka hits those thresholds nearly every season. His arguing costs minutes, hurts rhythm, affects team chemistry, and undermines leadership. At some point, that behavior becomes more than frustration. It becomes a tactical liability. Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi's weakness is playmaking. For a player used this much, his assist numbers just don't keep up. This past season, he averaged just over 3 assists per game, with an assist percentage barely above 10%. That's way below what you'd expect from someone with nearly 28% usage. That kind of gap means he's getting a lot of touches without creating much for anyone else. He rarely initiates the offense. Most of his possessions come through isolation, off screens, or spot-up chances. He's not running pick and rolls, and that limits the reads he has to make. When he does pass, the ball rarely moves again, and his assist-to-turnover ratio, while solid, is based on low volume. That's not what you want from a primary option. In the playoffs, it gets worse. His assist percentage dropped again, even while his scoring stayed steady. That tells you defenders are closing passing lanes, knowing he's not likely to dish it out. Even when James Harden shares the court with him, the offense stalls when Kawhi becomes the focal point. He's never developed skip passes or reliable kickouts. Teams know it, and they double him without fear of getting punished. When passing's not a threat, defenses can predict his choices, and that predictability keeps his team from unlocking another level. Sengun. His weakness is rim protection. This season, he averaged 0.8 blocks per game, the lowest among all starting centers. Elite anchors, they usually post close to 2, and his percentile rankings paint an even grimmer picture. 37th percentile for deterrence, just over 21% overall in rim protection metrics, and only 11% in rim points saved per 75 possessions. When he's on the court, opponents take more shots inside 6 feet and convert them at higher rates. That's not a fluke, it's a trend. The Rockets have been labeled as one dominant rim protector away from elite defense, and that's with Sengun starting most games. Physically, he's undersized for the role. Listed at 6'11" with a wingspan just over 7 feet, he doesn't have the vertical tools that most dominant shot blockers possess. In fact, Houston started Bruno Fernando over him in earlier seasons just to patch up that defensive hole. Even scouts flagged this before he entered the league. Missed rotations, slow footwork, and soft closeouts show up on tape. Despite strong defensive win shares, his game lacks that crucial vertical deterrence. Late game defense suffers because teams go right at him. He's solid with positioning and hustle, but in a league filled with above the rim slashers, positioning alone doesn't keep the paint safe. DeMar. His weakness is 3-point shooting. Over 16 seasons, he's averaged fewer than 2 threes per game and made just 30% of them. That's 2 out of every 6 attempts. Even in 2025, his best shooting year since 2012, he hit just under 33% on a little over 3 attempts per game. In the playoffs, the numbers drop even more. He's shooting just over 21% from deep. His pull-up numbers make the split worse. He hits nearly 49% on pull-up 2s, but only 25% on pull-up 3s. That's the widest gap in the league among volume mid-range scorers. And he barely takes catch and shoot 3s either, fewer than 50 in a full season. Mechanically, the shot breaks down. He releases at the top of his jump, which works for mid-range shots but wrecks long-range rhythm. His footwork varies every time. Hop step here, fade away there, rarely balanced. Even his shoulder and wrist sequencing gets sloppy when he's tired, creating weird side spins and inconsistent arcs. Opponents sag off him at the perimeter, clogging lanes and betting he won't shoot. It works. His spacing limitations restrict high-level pick-and-roll sets, reduce gravity, and force the ball into tighter spaces. It's the one hole in an otherwise polished offensive game, and it has never truly closed. Mikal Bridges. Bridges' weakness is shot creation. When he's the one initiating offense, the efficiency drops fast. In isolation, he averages just 0.72 points per possession. In pick and roll as the ball handler, it's 0.85. Those are both below average marks, especially compared to top-tier wings, who sit closer to 1.1. That gap in production becomes more obvious the more he's asked to do. He played all 82 games this season, led the league in minutes, and still attempted 118 free throws. That's 1.4 per game, which puts him outside the top 200 in free throw volume. His free throw rate sits around 7%, way lower than the league average for ball handling wings. Most of his made threes come off catch and shoot looks. During his time with the Nets, only 15% were unassisted. In Phoenix, that number was even lower. He averaged under 2 pull-up threes per game with just a 45% effective field goal rate. Despite a usage bump above 30%, he averaged only 3.7 assists with a turnover rate near 13%. That means he wasn't bending the defense much. Even with more touches, Bridges shines as a spot-up threat, but when asked to create, the numbers show it's not his game. Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma's weakness is efficiency. He took 25 shots per 36 minutes this season, his highest ever, and only got to the free throw line about 3 times per game. Even with that massive usage, his player efficiency rating dropped to 10.6. That's 4 points under his career average and well below league standard. His true shooting percentage, just over 54% in Milwaukee and under 49% in Washington, both trailing league averages. Despite jacking up more threes than ever, his deep shot hit barely 31%. He lived in the mid-range, where efficiency disappears. Over 36% of his shots came from 10 to 16 feet, where he shot just 43%. His free throw rate wasn't any better. Only 24% of his shots led to foul shots. And he made just 63% from the line. He turned the ball over on nearly 14% of his possessions. That, mixed with a usage above 24%, tanked his box plus minus to minus 4.9. His value over replacement player, minus 1.4. That's a red flag for anyone playing starter minutes. Across all splits, Washington, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, his numbers never bounced back. More shots didn't mean more value. His shot profile, poor decision-making, and weak conversion killed his efficiency again and again. Dennis Schroder. Schroder's weakness is staying on a team. In 13 seasons, he's played for 10 different franchises. That includes 6 team changes just from 2021 to 2025. After his 5-year stint in Atlanta and a 2-year stay in Oklahoma City, every other stop lasted 15 months or less. In 2025 alone, he played for Golden State, Detroit, and Sacramento. This isn't about him riding out bad rosters either. He's been moved off both playoff teams and rebuilding squads. In 2022, Boston traded him mid-season. In 2024, Brooklyn moved him, and Golden State traded him again after only 3 games. In that stretch with the Warriors, he posted a minus 65 plus minus across 3 games, the worst in the league before he was dealt. He's publicly criticized the trade system, calling it modern slavery, pointing to a lack of control over his career. That's not exactly a sign of comfort or long-term vision. And despite averaging solid stats, 13 points and 5 assists per game, teams keep dealing him. His contracts are short, he's easy to move, and coaches slot him in as temporary depth. But no team has locked him in as a system centerpiece. That kind of churn says a lot, and none of it speaks to staying power. LaMelo Ball. LaMelo's weakness is on-ball defense. Despite having a plus 2.0 defensive box plus minus this season, the Hornets were nearly 4 net rating points worse when he played. Their defensive rating jumped by over 11 points when he was on the court. That's a major split, showing that his individual defense lags behind what the team system or stats might suggest. He's 6'7", but just 180 pounds. That frame helps with contests and steals, but he lacks the lateral quickness and strength to stay in front of ball handlers. Scouts say he guesses more than he moves. He often bites on fakes and overcommits, then chases from behind. Against pick and rolls, he struggles to plant and recover, leading to repeated breakdowns at the point of attack. This year, he allowed double-digit isolation scores per 100 possessions defended, placing him among the worst point guards in that metric. His foul rate early in the season was over 4 per game, a sign of overreaching but dropped later on, though his defensive issues didn't disappear. Opponents target him with down screens and drag plays, forcing him into space where he can't anchor. Even with solid team help and a high steal rate, his on-ball coverage remains a gap. The defense bends when he's the one guarding the ball. Scottie Barnes. Barnes' weakness is 3-point shooting. Through 4 seasons, he's a career 30% shooter from deep. In 2024, he hit a career-best 34.1% on 4.9 attempts. But this season, that number dropped to 27.1% on 4.3 attempts. He's making just 1.2 threes per game, far below league average. His effective field goal percentage also dropped to 48.2%, driven by the dip in perimeter accuracy. Only about 26% of his total shots are from 3, and the low return means defenders can sag off him without much consequence. Mechanically, his form's been inconsistent since his rookie year. Analysts have pointed to flat release angles and inconsistent footwork, especially on catch-and-shoot looks. Even after off-season work and early season volume spikes, no sustained improvement followed. Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic said his shooting gravity would open up lanes, but that gravity never showed up. Defenses routinely leave him space at the arc, rotate off him to help in the paint, and challenge him to shoot. That compresses his driving lanes and limits his role in late game spacing. Until he brings that percentage above league norms, he'll keep getting the same treatment. Wide open and ignored. Julius Randle. Randle's weakness is turnovers. He averaged 2.8 per game this season, right on his career norm. His turnover percentage sat at 12.2, which means he gave the ball away on about 1 out of every 8 possessions. His assist to turnover ratio came in around 1.6, well below the league average for high usage forwards. His usage rate was 25.4%, and that came with a play style centered on isolations and self-created looks. That combination increases risk, especially when Randle spins or drives into crowded lanes. He rarely passes early against doubles and tends to force the ball into traffic. In clutch situations, the numbers get worse. He led the league in fourth quarter and overtime turnovers last season and had 5 turnovers in Game 4 of this year's Western Conference Finals. That included mishandles, misreads, and 1 cross-court slip that led to a breakaway the other way. In the playoffs, his turnover rate climbed even higher, 3.3 per game in just over 35 minutes. His spin moves, high dribble, and delayed passing all show up as breakdowns in pressure moments. Even with solid physical effort and scoring volume, the handling issues cost possessions. Until his passing reads sharpen or his role shifts, the turnovers will keep following him in big moments. Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson's weakness is efficiency. This season, he posted a 28% usage rate, but only hit a true shooting percentage of 54%. That's over 3 percentage points below the league average for shooting guard. The gap shows up clearly. He's using a ton of possessions without converting enough to justify it. His shooting, splits confirm it. 40.8% from the field, 36.2% from 3, and a free throw rate under 70% of his shot attempts. He doesn't get to the line enough, and when he does, the scoring value isn't high enough to move the needle. His effective field goal percentage sat just above 49%, barely above his 3-point clip. Even across his career, Clarkson's true shooting sits at 53.9%. He hasn't cleared 56 since 2023. This season, his on-court net rating was minus 15.9. That means the Jazz performed much better when he was off the floor. Despite being a volume scorer, his low foul rate, poor conversion on 2-point shots, and lack of assist impact make him a net negative when his shot isn't falling. That's not just inefficient, it drags down the whole offensive structure. Sabonis. Sabonis' weakness is rim protection. He's in rim situations a lot, defending over 2 shots at the rim each game, but he just doesn't change much down there. Opponents are hitting almost 60% of their shots at the rim when he's the one contesting, and that's among the worst in the league for qualified defenders. You'd think being tall would help more, but he blocks less than 1 shot per game. That's bottom third. He's barely making contact on those contests, and the numbers back it all up. His block percentage is just 0.5%, which means about 1 in every 200 plays ends with him swatting a shot. That's rough. The defense impact just isn't there. His presence does almost nothing to reduce the number of shots opponents take in the paint. Compare that to the best guys at the rim, and it's not close. On the court, teams are still getting what they want inside. He also lets 50% go in overall from the field, not just at the rim. The physical tools, not helping much. Scouts flagged his vertical ability and quickness all the way back in the draft. He drops back, plays soft, and rarely explodes to challenge shots. It's all adding up. For someone in the thick of rim action, the disruption just isn't coming. Michael Porter Jr. His weakness is passing. This season, he averaged just 2.1 assists per game across 77 games. His assist percentage was 8.7, extremely low for a forward with a 20% usage rate. By comparison, even role-playing wings often hit between 12 and 14%. His assist-to-turnover ratio was 1.59, and he totaled 104 turnovers, meaning his passing barely offset his giveaways. Among all NBA players, he ranked outside the top 100 in total assists and only generated about 2.9 points per game from his passing. Cameron Johnson, playing a nearly identical role, generated 8.5 points per game from assists with a 17% assist rate. That gap tells you exactly how little creation Porter brings to the table. He rarely runs pick and rolls, doesn't create off the dribble, and almost never finds cutters or corner shooters. Most of his touches end in a shot or a reset, not a read. Even in late game situations, teams know he's not facilitating, just spotting up or taking tough contested looks. Jokic masks this, But when Porter is asked to shoulder more responsibility, the offense stalls. Until his passing climbs, his offensive ceiling stays locked. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.